Hello everybody and welcome to another video, and today we're going to be looking at another new band. Well, at least they're new to me. They've apparently been touring around and playing gigs for quite some time now, but it's a new band to me. It's a band called Ghost of Atlantis. I'd obviously never heard of them before, had to do a little bit of research for them, and Ghost of Atlantis come from Suffolk here in the UK. They carry a wealth of professionalism and experience. And this is direct from a press release. It says, like both Cradle of Filth and Delvement before it, Ghost of Atlantis continues the tradition and staple of the Witch County trademark sound. The sound is dark and aggressive, sinister and twisted, yet universally appealing due to big chorus lines, emotive orchestration, and massive hooks. Sonically, the band crosses many genres and lyrical styles, from poetic spoken word elements, full choirs and memorable choruses to guttural destruction carried forth through the main vocals. Ghost of Atlantis, the band, feature both present and past members of Devilment, Failed Humanity, The Conflict Within, and Cold Lazarus. All of the members have been in bands together for the last 9 years, and the chemistry within the band is superb. All have been on either headline or support tours across the world with various other projects. Some names of note include Lacuna Coil, Motionless in White, Times of Grace, Prong, Biohazard, Lockup, and Soilwork. So, some quite big names in there. Add to this, they have been in several festivals such as Grasspop, Summer Breeze, Rock Hearts, Hammerfest, Wave, Gothic, Treffen, and Maystain performances at Bloodstock. So there you go. Currently doing tours with Motionless in White and Lacuna Coil and She Must Burn at the moment, apparently, as well. Now, the track we're going to look at today, they just released this track last night. It's a track called Halls of Lemuria. Now, I unfortunately don't have any lyrics for this track. I did send them a message about 13 hours ago asking if they would be generous enough to supply some lyrics. Well, it might have just been 12 hours ago, I can't remember exactly. But anyway, I sent them a message asking if they'd be generous enough to supply me with some lyrics, and they read my message and just didn't reply. So either they were really, really busy, or they just didn't want to supply me with the lyrics. It doesn't matter. It's not important. It is a lyric video. It's just, how I like to read through the lyrics and talk about the themes and stories behind the songs. Won't really be able to do that so much, so we'll just have to look at the music. So, yeah, let's go in and have a look, see what we've got. So, Halls of Lemuria by Ghost of Atlantis. Let's see what we have. There we go. Halls of Lemuria by Ghost of Atlantis, and that was absolutely brilliant. You know, for a large part of it, actually reminded me a little bit of Meadow's End. You know, mostly through the music, and you know, some of the vocal stylings they used reminded me a bit of Meadow's End. But they really mixed up the vocal styles throughout that track. I mean, there was like 3 or 4 different vocal styles throughout that track. And everybody knows that's one thing that I really enjoy in my music. I like it when they mix up the different sort of vocal styles. You know, you had the harsher, guttural growls, and then you had some very surprising clean lyrics, or clean vocals, should I say. And I say surprising because it was such a refreshing difference from how clean vocals normally go in these songs. You know, when you have like, oh, I say these songs, you know, when you get bands like Shadows Fall and stuff like that, you can rely that there's going to be a very specific sort of guttural, harsh vocal, and that the clean vocals are going to sound pretty much the same as every other band that do that style of music. Whereas here, these clean vocals are very different, and it's quite refreshing, and it sounded really good. They then had this sort of sort of spoken parts, more of sort of like poem. It had a bit of rhythm and cadence to it, and then later they had an actual spoken part, and all 4 parts were done in different styles, and that's something that I really like. Now, I was trying as hard as I could to try and follow the lyrics on screen for the video, but it was done in such a font that I could hardly bloody read the damn thing. You know, half of it was done in this sort of Greek-looking font, and then the rest of it was done in this sort of handwriting sort of font, which I couldn't read at all. But then, as I'm watching it at the moment, I'm only watching it in a very small screen, so that may be part of my downfall. So I couldn't really glean much information about the actual track itself. This is one of the reasons why I like to have the lyrics beside the video as well, even if it is a lyric video, but, you know, unfortunately that wasn't meant to be. But there were certain phrases in there that sort of made me think maybe they're talking about, like, improving the world and, you know, fighting against greed and corruption and stuff like that. They're just random things that I sort of picked up every now and then. I couldn't put a whole cohesive story together, but it sounded really good. You know, musically it was brilliant. Like I said, reminded me very much of Meadow's End. The harsher growled vocals also did remind me a bit of Meadow's End. You know, so it was very good, very good piece of music. I really enjoyed that. I'm looking forward to when the album comes out, so I can hear the rest of it, or just in general, I'd like to hear some more of their stuff. It was very good. But really, there isn't much else I can say about that other than how much I actually enjoyed the music. You know, and it's always good to see bands coming out of the UK, because since most bands that I cover on here are either Norwegian or American or something of that ilk, you know, so you know, it's nice to cover a British band for a change. But you know, I can't really say much else about it other than it was very good, and you know, I didn't want to be one of those channels where I listen to a song and go, well, it was good. You know, I wanted to talk more about the actual song, but you know, can't have it my way every time. So we'll leave that as it is. Now, if anybody likes to suggest a track for me to react to, then please do so. By all means, you can drop a comment in the comment section below, or message me on my Facebook or my Instagram, or you could even message me through my Patreon, where you could help to support this channel, which would be of a great help to me. There is an option in Patreon where you can get your suggestion jumped to the front of the queue, should you so desire. There's 1 or 2 restrictions on that, however. And that's just to be fair to people who suggest tracks through regular means. Otherwise, I'd be constantly just doing requests from Patreon, and you know, people wouldn't be getting their tracks looked at if they like requested them through YouTube comments, Facebook or Instagram. You know, it's just to be fair to those guys. So there is a little bit of a limitation on how often you can make a Patreon request. If you do make a suggestion through YouTube, Facebook or Instagram, do know it might take me a little while to get around to your suggestions, since I do get suggested so many new tracks every single day that my list grows faster than I can record the videos. But I do write down every suggestion I get, so it will get done eventually. It just might take me a little while to get around to it. Excuse me. Also, Metalhead Reacts is a proud supporter of the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, a British-based charity whose main goal is to put an end to hate crimes. More specifically, aimed towards hate crimes, aimed towards people of the alternative culture, but, you know, realistically, they want to put an end to all hate crimes. It's just the alternative subculture is how they sort of came into being. And it's something I strongly support, something I believe in very, very strongly, because it's something I've had to deal with most of my life, something that many of my friends and family have had to deal with, and this is the fact that people of the alternative culture are getting violently attacked just purely for the fact that they are members of the alternative culture, whether it's because they listen to alternative music or wear alternative fashion. And, you know, we're not just talking simple little things like insults being shouted across the street or getting shoulder rammed as they walk down the road. You know, we're talking about real violent crimes where people are getting brutally attacked and brutally beaten to near unconsciousness just purely for the fact that they listen to alternative music or wear alternative fashion. And it's one of these things, it never gets spoken about, it never gets acknowledged that this sort of thing happens, but it's been going on for decades. And, you know, it goes on all around the world every single day. And, you know, the last time this was widely spoken about was 13 years ago, when Sophie Lancaster and her boyfriend Rob Maltby were violently attacked by a group of 5 or 6 people who knocked them to the ground, beat them, kicked them, punched them, and stamped on their heads so violently that both of them ended up in a coma. Now, Rob Maltby, he did thankfully survive. He was in a coma for around about a week, I think, maybe a bit longer, I can't remember exactly how long. But Sophie Lancaster was in a coma for 13 days before she succumbed to her injuries and she died. This woman was only 20 years old, and she was beaten to death by a group of people just purely for the fact that she listened to alternative music and wore alternative fashion, and they didn't like that fact because she didn't fit into what they thought was correct. They beat her to death just because they didn't like it. And this happened 13 years ago, and it was all over the news at the time. But since that happened, we've not really heard anything about anything similar happening. But I know for a fact that it has. In those 13 years, similar attacks have happened. We've just not heard anything about it, and that is unacceptable. 2 years ago, there was a young woman in Glasgow who was running a charity gig, and at one point during the night, she had to go back to her home, which was a 5-minute walk from the venue. From the time between leaving the venue and getting to her home, she was attacked twice by the same group of people, and again, knocked to the ground, punched, kicked, you know, violently attacked twice by this same group of people, because she was a member of the alternative community, because she wore alternative fashion, because she listened to alternative music. And possibly the only thing that saved her life was the fact that a passing taxi driver sort of spooked this group of attackers to, you know, and got them to run away. But the thing is, this taxi driver didn't even stop to see if the young lady was okay. He just carried on driving and just sort of left her there in the street. And, you know, where was this in the news? Why didn't we hear about this? Why wasn't there loads of coverage on this? You know, every day we hear about all these other crimes like sexism, racism, homophobia, transphobia, religious hatred, etc. You know, we hear these every single day, from the most violent and disgusting of these crimes where someone is murdered for the colour of their skin or because of their religious taste or because of their sexual orientation, down to the most pathetic of these crimes where some entitled white woman is calling the police on a family of colour because they're having a picnic in a public area. You know, we hear every facet of these crimes every single day in every platform of media. Yet we hear nothing of these people that are getting beaten to within an inch of their life just purely for the fact that they like different music. You know, and it's unacceptable. We shouldn't have to wait for someone to die before we start talking about this. We shouldn't have to wait for another situation like what happened to Sophie Lancaster to happen again. It's unacceptable. You know, what happened to Sophie Lancaster is something that should never have happened. And we most certainly can't allow it to happen again. And this is what the Sophie Lancaster Foundation is all about. They want to prevent that sort of thing from ever happening again. They don't want to see another family go through what they went through when they had to watch their daughter slowly die over the course of 2 weeks because of the actions of a group of small-minded morons who couldn't handle the fact that not everybody likes the same stuff. This group of people who just couldn't accept the fact that she was an individual, she thought for herself, she didn't follow the trend, she didn't follow the crowd, she was an individual and she was proud of it. And they attacked her for it. We can't let this sort of thing happen again. So if you'd like to find out more about the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, there is a link to their website in the description below. You can go over there, find out what they're working on at the moment, find out what their main goal is, because they can explain it a lot better than I can. And if you can help them out in any small way, obviously don't feel obligated to do so, but if you can help them out in any small way, whether it's something as simple as one of these wristbands off their web store, or maybe even that one, or even like a small donation through their website, the smallest amount can make the biggest difference. And the sooner we bring more attention to this, the sooner we get more people talking about this, the sooner we can help to stamp out prejudice, hatred, and intolerance everywhere. But I'm going to leave that as it is for the time being. Thank you all very, very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.